can get a chance to see the illustrative summary detailing what was covered every day of the week. So thank you to our artists who've been with us all week for the sketch effect. These come really in handy. Please retweet these, post these, email these out to your colleagues, to your institutions. It's a great way just to capture visually some of the highlights and the themes of what was talked about. We just want to really give a big shout out to our planning group. We would not be able to do this work without you. There's a lot of time that goes into this. We've been meeting on regularly throughout the year on Friday mornings. So I want to shout out the planning group. And if I may, just do a quick digression and give a big, huge shout out to the folks working tirelessly behind the scenes, putting all this together. Shout out to Rena, shout out to Carmel. You know, we love you, we appreciate you. None of this would be possible without you helping folks log in. So thank you to Rena. Thank you to Carmel. Also, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsors, our gold sponsors, our silver sponsors, our bronze sponsors. Literally, you are helping us with the resources needed so we can make sure that folks get compensated for their time, so our students can get scholarships. So thank you to all our sponsors. And again, it's never too late to donate and become a sponsor for Black Student Success Week. Please stay up to date on news briefs, policy agendas. Go back and revisit any of the webinars from the Black Hour at our YouTube page, also on our link tree, and that's located on our Instagram page. You can find it on our Twitter handle as well, at CA Black Students. Use the hashtag the Black Hour, hashtag Black Student Success Week. Tag your local news media outlets. Tag your campus committee members, tag your board. Listen, the revolution must be televised, and we need your help to mobilize this work. So tag us, hit us up, use the hashtags. Let's let everybody know what we're doing. We want to shout out our Uber Eats winner for today. Shout out Ohima. Congratulations. Lunch is on us. Take a picture of what you're eating. Let us know what you're eating. And now, I know you see the fresh bucket, right? See the fresh tea. And listen, we heard from you. We know you've been going to the site. So for the next 72 hours, we have the whole site fully restocked. Bucket hats, dad hats, hoodies, the white hoodie, the camo hoodie, the black hoodie, the tees, and everything on the site is 20% off using discount code TBH. That's right. Everything is fully restocked. Go to the site, go run it up. Everything is 20% off using discount code TBH. Sale ends this Sunday at midnight. Now, are you ready? The after party is coming. Don't forget that. 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Join in the conversation as well. Don't forget that we have the student hour coming too. 5:30 to 6:30 as well today. So we want to make sure, 5 to 6, excuse me. So we want to make sure that you're in those conversations. Today, we're talking about financial literacy workshop. Now, for the big breaking news. Breaking news. That's right. You don't want to miss this announcement. We've been teasing it all week. We're here to let you know that this is going to be a game changer coming September 2024, the first of its kind, the B Awards. That's right. Give it up. The Black Educators Excellence Award is coming 2024. It is going to be phenomenal. We're going to have an in-person award ceremony highlighting some of the wonderful work, the programs, the faculty, the staff. So get your popcorn ready, get your fly suits ready. Start making plans. 2024, we will have the Black Educators Excellence Award sponsored by none other than Black Student Success Week. So get ready for it. All right. Are you ready for day 5? You ready? You ready? Today's agenda. We're going to have a video highlight from the All African Diaspora Education Summit. We're going to have a faculty panel that's going to do some reflections from Ghana. This is going to be key, going to be key. And then we're going to close out, first time ever, with remarks from Black women community college CEOs. Come on now. Come on now. These women are phenomenal. So they got some words that they're going to leave us with. But right now, let me toss it over to my brother, man, my East African brother, Dr. Bull, who was out with me last night. I appreciate hanging out with you. Dr. Bull, come in and take us through the rest of our agenda today.
Thank you, Dr. Handy. It's a pleasure and honor to be here with you all. Before I introduce the video, I just want to get some acknowledgments. And he hasn't been on screen or on video this whole week, but I want to shout out Dr. Keith Curry, who's really been the brainchild behind Black Student Success Week, and he's truly trying to be humble. He's supposed to close us out today, so hopefully we can get him out and give him some love on social media. Before I introduce this video, we had a very historical conference this past summer. And the theme was reclaiming African sovereignty through African-centered education, pushing excellence as a mantra in everything Africa and African through the right education. We did this at the University of Cape Coast in Ghana, where over 300 practitioners, educators, community members, professors, administrators, nonprofit leaders, college presidents, Black and non-Black, all descended upon the motherland. And it was around several core themes. How could a Pan-African approach to educational policy, curriculum, and pedagogy be used to empower Black people in Africa and in the diaspora? How do we dismantle colonial Eurocentric educational practices? How do we re-enter the experiences, be it history or traditions of African people in education? Analyzing what went wrong, and how do, as Africans, we re-emerge. We talk about African-American student success, but we've never talked about Africa in the sense of being on the motherland. So today, we want to show you a video of those who had the pleasure and privilege and honor to be in that space. And then we're going to go into a panel of folks that went through this transformative experience. So that being said, Rena, if you can cue up the video.
We are here. We need to send a message across. We need to celebrate education, things that we can use to compete in the 21st century.
Knowledge should be basically expansive.
And so when we talk about education, it must be an education that takes us forward. It began in Africa and it must end in Africa. And that's what we're here to celebrate.
On the day-to-day, try to path of your own, that's what it's coming to. Internet shrinking the world, I'm expanding my view.
This is not easy work.
It was also significant to let the Africans know on the continent that we are back and that we're here to reclaim what it is that we have lost. So we had to let everyone know. In fact, we had to let the world know that we are here.
It's going to take a culturally responsive community.
We created the environment, all right, and we treat it like a bed of flowers.
Developing the framework of African curriculum.
We should not make a school or a college or university the exclusive environment where our children are taught.
Audre Lorde said it best, the master's tools will not dismantle the master's house.
It's bad energy, so if it ain't bringing value to the table, then please don't trouble me.
This conversation is about CRT. This conversation is about how do we create educational centers where a person's race, class, or gender doesn't determine their outcome. That's where we start the conversation.
There's enough valid historical information that we can build a foundation of truth on. So let's do that for the next 300 years.
And these are things that people don't think about, talk about, or deal with. So we just take knowledge base as knowledge base without looking at the Africa in the base.
African-centered education helps us meet needs and solve problems.
I mean, anti-blackness is as America is.
We are African people no matter where we are, and we don't need no permission from anybody.
But we've got work to do right now.
We are here.
Now you can hold me back.
And so with that, I want to kind of introduce a star-studded panel again as we move on to the next slide of folks that are going to guide us through their experiences. And our hope is save the date. And we're going to come with that save the date right after the session. And we're going back in 2024 for this historical experience. We have Dr. Callum White, professor at San Jose City College, representing NorCal in the Bay Area. We have Dr. Kalinda McLean, Moja coordinator and counselor, representing LA Pierce College. We got Dr. Lori Manyweather, associate professor. We're also representing LA Trade Technical College. We got Dr. Corey Timberlake, Moja coordinator, representing Riverside Community College. We got Dr. Trevor Brackett, department chair, representing Pasadena City College. There's so much doctors here. I feel like I can get sick and be taken care of. With that being said, if we can bring all our panelists to the screen and take down the PowerPoint, see their beautiful, wonderful faces. Family, how y'all doing? We got Dr. Nairi Berry, who's been an instrumental partner in this work, coordinating Black student success with me for the last 4 years, lock and step. I'm gonna start off with you, Dr. Berry. Take us through your experience. How was it for you going to the motherland?
Oh, definitely. The motherland just changed my landscape of everything. It was just a phenomenal experience and definitely ready to go back 2024. And then I'll just popcorn it to Dr. Manyweather.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you this beautiful Friday? I have 3 words to describe my experience in Ghana, and the first word is emotional. I can't tell you how emotional it was for me to go there. I was excited. I cried. I had a lot of emotions going through me when we went into the cells of the prisoner or of our slave owners, and me working with the reentry population at the colleges. I just couldn't imagine being in this small space and not having any food and water. And I know that it's not like that in the prisons today, but just going into that space, that was emotional for me. It also allowed me to get closer to my identity as an Afro-Caribbean hailing from Trinidad and Tobago, understanding. I've heard the word diaspora, but I did not understand it. And going to Africa and going to the breakout sessions and understanding just how far we've gone and the different places we've gone. And so my mother immigrated here from Trinidad and Tobago. And so I'm Afro-Caribbean, right? So I learned about that. And then the last word I would bring to you is I left with a sense of pride. I had my shoulders up, my head up, my shoulders back, my head up, because I was like, I visited the motherland. And when I tell people on regular conversations, the district sent me, my job sent me to Ghana. They're like, what? They can't believe it. And so those are the 3 words that I can only express myself: emotional, learning more about my identity, and pride. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That sense of pride is so important. Dr. White, you teach this for a living as an ethnic studies, Black studies professor. Talk to us. How was this experience for you?
This experience for me was the most impactful experience I've had in the community colleges thus far, I think, from professional growth and professional development standpoint. Yes, I teach it. Yes, I've been to Africa a couple of different times, but this, from a professional and also personal standpoint, made the most sense and really helped me to connect the dots and really reinvigorated me when I got back to kind of put the pads and the helmet back on and get back out there on the field in a much more dominant fashion, if you will.
Dr. Timberlake, we've had detailed, in-depth discussions about this in the past. How was the experience for you touching the motherland?
King, I've been asked that question well over 50 times. And by now you would think that I would have the perfect wording to encapsulate the experience, but I do not, which illustrates to me just how impactful the experience was. It was something that I can't even imagine, I couldn't even imagine if I were to detail it prior to my arrival, what the experience may be like. I would have missed a ton. But I left feeling, if I could encapsulate that, I would say validating and affirmed. That is what my experience was in Ghana.
Validating. I'm gonna take it to the counselor to close this out, Dr. Kalinda McLean. We talk about transformative experience. We talk about validation, affirmation. Tell us about yourself and this experience for you.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for that. I am just sitting here and just nodding and smiling in agreement with my colleagues because they could not have said it better. Dr. Timberlake ripped the words out of my mouth, which is that this experience was so impactful that really words don't do it justice. I mean, the experience for me, it really fed my soul. I had no idea and no concept before embarking what it would do to me. I really thought from more of an academic and a professional standpoint that this was a great professional development opportunity. And I knew I would grow, professionally. And I knew I would get something out of it that I could bring back to the college. But God knows I had no idea how much I would bring back to my family, to the young African-American men that I am raising, to my husband, to extended family. This was an experience that was beyond rewarding. As Dr. Timberlake said, it was definitely affirming. It reminded me of the importance of the work that I do every day, but also the value and the importance of me as a practitioner and how I, going back to sort of some of that self-care, I won't get too much into it, but as a counselor, it's important to take care of yourself, put on your face mask so you can, before you try to help someone else. And so it did a lot of that for me, where it really helped me to take care of myself in a way that I hadn't thought of and in places I hadn't thought of. And so, again, words won't do it justice, but it definitely was affirming, life-changing, and transformational is an understatement. This is the experience for those of us that are in this work. You've got to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Dr. Brackett, I'm going to take it to you to finish out this question and also start the second question. So how was this experience for you? And also, as a well-traveled African who's traveled to several African countries, why is it so important for us to connect to the motherland? Why is this connection to Africa so salient?
Thank you, Dr. Bull. I appreciate that. And first and foremost, man, I would like to give a big shout out to my president, Dr. Erica Jonas, for allowing so many of us from Pasadena City College to attend Ghana, Africa. I'm definitely, grateful for her and her leadership in allowing us to do so. And going to Ghana, I think for me, has just really, really brought back the African that's in me, and not really knowing how to value that growing up, not knowing how to value the African in me, and just going home and just getting connected to my ancestors. It's a different vibe and a different feeling from the moment you touch the soil. Having been in Senegal and other places, and going to the different, slave dungeons and just really just getting in tune to who you are as a Black man is critically important. And from a woman's perspective as well, right? So I think just really just getting into who we are, in tune to who we are as Black people, and doing that unapologetically, and just really just appreciating that Africanness that we have within us. It's nothing like Africa. It's nothing like going home to our ancestors and getting the cultural foods and seeing where our people were taken from and everything of that nature. I mean, you have to really just get there to really experience it and to just really appreciate being home in a motherland.
Absolutely. Dr. Bush was a co-chair and really the brainchild behind this project in the planning committee. And he co-chaired convened this conference really span of like a few months. We literally came back from the men conference and put Dr. Gabru and I in a subcommittee and we planned this conference. And I remember Dr. Bush saying it's going to be a game changer, not just for the folks here, but for the continent. So Dr. Berry, I want to talk to you about the transformative, because we're at a university campus. You're a sociology professor. We had colleagues from those departments as well. What are the implications you're taking away as an educator now from this experience? We got to talk about the personal, but the professional development was so enriching. What are some ideas or some practices that you're taking away from this?
Well, just thinking about, you know, how you said the committee was put together, right? And then, you know, first, I want to just thank our district executives, Chancellor Rodriguez, because we took a delegation of 40, right? So once you all put out the back call, like, hey, this is what we're doing in a 9-college district, putting together 40, like you said, Black excellence and also our allies, doctors together, that was a bit challenging, but we made it, we did it. And, you know, some of the implications just with that, some of the implications that I, you know, came up with just being an educator, but not even necessarily being an educator, but being at the district level. You know, oftentimes we're struggling with racial battle fatigue. We're struggling with, you know, we're wondering like, are we really dealing with anti-Blackness, right? But just to come together as a unit, as a delegation of 40, that there alone just basically explains and helped me understand the power of the things that we can do as one when we come together in a few months to come together and say, oh, let's go, let's move. We're going to the motherland. So those are some of the things as well. And just from a professor's perspective, taking it into the classroom, understanding and knowing, taking it to our students is, you know, oftentimes our students come to us, you know, broken, unsure. You know, it's the confidence of knowing, you know, this is your culture. This is who you are. Embrace it. You know, I think Dr. Trevor, he talked about it like, you know, knowing who you are. You know, walking around, oftentimes they say, go back to Africa, right? Go back to Africa. You don't have any culture. I think one of the things I want to touch on is that we're the only ones that were stolen. Everyone else wants to come.
Say that again. One more again.
We were the only ones that were stolen. Everyone else wants to come. We know what we have, right? So when we hear and we see that anti-Blackness, it's like, how can you be anti-Black and you want to be here? We didn't ask to come. You want to be here, right? So that's some of the things that I think and I teach to my students.
Absolutely. You know, that's powerful and deep. I'm gonna go to Dr. Manuel because you touched upon something as well. You know, we used to hear back in the 90s, you know, African booty scratcher, you know, poverty, all this happening. Right. And then, you know, we had this Wakanda Black excellence moment. Everybody's dashiki'd out. We go there, we got Usher, SZA, there's the Afro-Cella conference happening in Ghana at the same time. We got ABC and, you know, the launch of Robin Williams and, you know, Wakanda Forever coming out. So everyone's like, oh, pro-Africa now. So can you talk to us about even the challenges, the psychological challenges from a professional perspective as well, going back to the mother?
You said the psychological challenges going back to the
just the fear of going back home and, you know, some of the things that you've been hearing and actually touching the motherland being much different.
Yes.
And your Jollof rice experiences too. If you want to talk about the Jollof rice, we can do that too.
I eat too much of the Jollof rice, however, you threw me off. I have a thought together. What I realized in going back, okay, so here's what I had to do. My mother, since she left her country, she always took us back home. So we, you know, Trinidad is a third world country. So when I got to Africa and I got to Ghana and we, you know, landed in Accra, then we went up to Cape Coast. you know, I immediately switch. I did a switch. You know how they say they code switch? So I know how to code switch in from the neighborhood to the boardroom. I had to go into my immigrant status. You know, I had to do a code switching. And I think that's what really held our group together, because I was like, y'all, we can't think like them. We can't think like them, meaning the Americans. We can't think how they think. You know, we're elite and we're educators, but as we were, you know, checking into our rooms and just kind of navigating things, it was kind of like you heard a little complaining and you heard a little, I can't handle this, I can't do this. And I immediately went into Trinidad mode. I was like, oh, I got to get barefoot up in here. I got to lay my clothes out. I got to do this. I got to understand that I got to use this bottled water. I can't use this, you know, drink from the faucet. So going there, I had an idea, but it just, being there, it was just totally different. It was just totally different. And I appreciate so much more watching the kids, the students. I'm still connected to the students that were our guides. We stay, you know, texting each other through WhatsApp. You know, I'll send them a little change. Like that's how we said in Trinidad, you send me a little change, please. Yes, I will send you some change, you know. So it's just like, I kind of just started appreciating my Trinidadian roots more, just going to Africa and understanding where my people came from.
That's right. Back to the roots. I love that. I'm gonna go to you, Dr. Kalinda. McLean, can you tell us about just some of the professional implications of the work now that you've had this experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a tremendous amount of work since we've returned. Some of it has been work one-on-one with students and in the program and at our colleges. And some of the work has been a collective work, you know, within our Umoja network. You know, we really try to make sure that we are leveraging our resources, working together to, you know, to support efforts that we think our district students should be involved in and things our students should have access to. So to that end, what I mean is that Dr. Coney, my partner in crime at Valley, at LA Valley College, and I and some of our other colleagues in the district participated in a mixer that we had online. And the mixer was with some of our students in the LA Community College District, some of our students that are international students that are coming from countries on the continent of Africa. Some are students that are that have already made the trip here. And then we partnered with the students at University of Cape Coast so that some of the students that were at Cape Coast got on the workshop, the online workshop, so that we could start making connections with the students in terms of if they're interested in studying in the United States, how do they go about it? So we brought professionals from our campuses to talk about international student opportunities, finding resources to study in the US, et cetera. So one of the professional implications, and the reason I'm highlighting this is not only because it was a great event and one that we're going to continue to do and continue to build upon, but more importantly, because in the video, they spoke a little bit about the game changer, and you know, and you mentioned Dr. Bush's comments about it being a game changer for the continent and for many of the Africans on the continent of Africa. And I think that that's one of the professional implications of the work that we do, is that it extended beyond just, you know, Los Angeles Pierce College, beyond the Los Angeles Community College District, but out to the people on the continent of Africa. And so, you know, just again, in the Umoja community, we talk about gifting, and the idea of gifting is sharing the learning that we have had an opportunity to experience and, you know, sharing with others. And that's a little bit of what we were doing. So that was, for me, just one of the professional implications of the work was having our work extending beyond just our students. So it absolutely benefited our students to be able to hear from students at University of Cape Coast that are interested in furthering their education in the United States, but it also helped the students on the continent. Thank you.
No, absolutely. You know, some of the results that we've gotten, folks came to present to their board right afterwards about their experience. And then we saw collaborations happening, professional developments through Zoom, faculty and administrators training faculty and administrators at the University of Cape Coast. For those who may not know, it's the second largest, if not the largest university in Africa, 60,000 students, 30,000 on the ground. The campus was probably a city within itself, almost the size of a village, very vast. So we were really profoundly touched by the amount of undergraduate and graduate students, and everyone spoke English there. And so there were volunteers navigating us to the different sessions. So there was a lot of opportunities for collaboration, and we've seen study abroad programs. MOUs were signed between districts and the university, and not just in Cape Coast. There were folks from other countries from Africa who came as well. So the level of activity cannot be captured. But thank you, Dr. McLean, for kind of mentioning some of the experiences in that. Dr. White, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the professional implications that this has had?
Professional implications that the trip had. I think that over the last, 2, 3, 4 years, I can recall, particularly, since 2020, we'll start there. It's been a lot of talk and a lot of action around DEI and B, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And to me, it was illuminated more greatly by this trip that for us as African Americans, kind of what Dr. Berry was talking about in terms of being taken, we've really been searching for inclusion and belonging since 1619 as African American people, right? And so I felt when we touched ground there and got, ingratiated with the people there and the experience there, that this is real inclusion and belonging. I felt, more like I belonged there. I felt better in terms of my inclusion and belonging back on my home campus when I returned. This is kind of the first time professionally that I felt or been made to feel like the inclusion and belonging was real. So from a professional standpoint, that part of the experience for me was very tangible, very palpable. And so again, that's why I said earlier, this trip was like the most meaningful time for me from a professional standpoint that I've been to Africa or been abroad, because it just really connected some of those dots and really showed me the importance of feeling like, the experience of being or the experience of made to feel like you belong or you're included in a solution. And this was like solution-based travel for me.
Absolutely. He was glowing out there too, man. The melanin was glowing out there, Dr. White. Dr. Timberlake, talk to us. What are the professional implications for you in this experience?
I mean, I think if anything, it affirmed and enhanced what I felt I already knew, about the power of feeling included, about the power of being reflected, about the power of feeling welcomed, right? And how impactful those things can be, to an individual. So I think that was most important. Those were the most important implications that I found. You asked a question earlier about why is it so important to connect to the motherland? Because, I believe that that's where the source of truth is. To Dr. Berry's point, I would say that our students don't necessarily come broke and they come fatigued, right? If you've ever been around a liar, they can be exhausted, right? And so our students have been lied to, right? Year after year after year, right? And so it is important that we begin to speak said truth. And I think the motherland is the source of that, right? I'm a firm believer that, in light of the African proverb that says, until a lion learns to speak, the tales of the hunt will always favor the hunter.
Deep. Ooh, I'm going to just sit with that for a quick second there. We've been lied to so much. Dr. Berry, if you can round us out, what do folks on this call need to know? Advocates, allies, enemies, haters, supporters, blockades. What do they need to know? Let them know what it is.
Okay, I don't even want to necessarily speak to the enemies, right? But if you don't have no haters, you're not doing your job, right? But just really thinking about what I want to leave them with, just like I said, I have a different I'm viewing it through a different lens, just the perspective of like pretty much directing and coordinating the entire event from the largest community college in the district, and I mean in the state of California, in addition to taking 40 delegates. I just want everyone to think about, like, you know, Black taxation is real. When you think like, oh, we can't get up this battle, just always know, think about the motherland. And some of the things I want, you know, my colleagues, my brothers and sisters, my allies to know: your work is not in vain. And just keep pushing. I know sometimes I'm going to call out one of my sisters. I don't know if she's on the line, Ebony and Dr. Ebony Tyree. We reached out to each other, and she said she saw me at the men conference, and she said, sometimes you just want to send that email and just let them know where you're really from, right? And I said, oftentimes you just want to send that email, right? You know, you just, you know, like the young people say, risk it all, right? But no, you know, there's places and spaces that we need to talk to and understand that your work is not alone. And the takeaway from today is we ain't going nowhere. You brought us here. We're going to come take what you want, that you took from us. You took our culture. You take everything from us, but we're not going nowhere till we get good and ready. And while we're here, we're going to be known. Our presence going to be known, and you're going to feel it.
Speak, Queen, speak. Look. Go ahead, Dr. Manyweather. Follow that up. Go ahead.
We are at a cultural war. They are coming for us, everyone. They are coming for us. We, as educators, we have a cultural responsibility to bring African-centered education into the classroom. We have to bridge that gap. They have laws against us. They're trying to implement laws against us to not teach what we know is the truth to our students. And so you as educators and students, I don't want any of my students to be a casualty of this war that's being waged against us, and them not wanting us to teach our students about our culture, understanding how great we are, how innovative we are, how we are the inventors of this world. And so I want, and I would hope everyone would try to get to Africa in 2024. And I would hope that everyone join us and bridge this gap, stand in that gap, and join and lock arms in fighting against this war, because it's a war waged on us about our culture now. We talked about civil rights, but now it's our culture. They're coming for us. So we need to stand in solidarity and fight back. And we can do that in the classroom.
Thank you for that. And there's only one title for the person that knows they're not in war that's losing. It's loser, you know what I mean? So thank you for saying that. Dr. Brackett, what do they need to know?
No, it's interesting. I was just listening to everybody, and everybody was accurate with everything that they, that they articulated. And I was just sitting here thinking about, because I work in the prisons as well, and I work with the currently incarcerated population. And I thought about one of my theories that my theory that I wrote within my dissertation was the African American male theory. And one of the tenets that Dr. Bush, Lawson Bush, and Dr. Edward Bush, that they talked about was African American boys and men are resilient and resistant. And so when I think about that, when I think about going to Africa, I think about me as an educator. I think about those men that I work with, those brothers, those Black men that's incarcerated. One of the things that I do is let them know how smart that they are. I go in there and I change up the term from inmate to scholars, because they're taking scholastic courses, right? So just really, and now they telling me, like, I never knew I was a scholar. I never knew I could be a smart Black male. I never knew that I could pursue to get my my doctorate coming from South Central or coming from the hood. And so it's just really just like affirming them of what they already are born with, right? Dr. Lawson Bush said Black males are born with an innate desire to learn, right? They're born with an innate desire to learn. So why is it that we continue to tell them that they're not smart, right? So it's about changing the complete narrative of how we articulate to our Black men, to our Black students, and really just letting them know that it's okay to be the king and the queen that you are and being Black, and pushing education through excellence. So, man, going to Africa, man, and somebody talked about returning, right? So as soon as I got back from Africa, man, I went to my office, bro, and I designed my I got the wall of return on my wall, right, with all my African artifacts in there. And one of my colleagues said, Trevor, like, that's really you. You got your family, and then you got your culture. And because I want my students to know when they see me that I'm respecting, and I truly, truly love my culture as being a Black and African man.
I love that, man. And I want to just let everyone know on this call how important what Dr. Brackett just mentioned is. Like, you cannot talk about African American student success without talking about Africa. Like, it is just not possible. And so for him to say, even I'm impacted by this profession, I'm going to change my office space, that belonging that we talked about, that Dr. White talked about, he's creating that space in his own office. That's impacting his self-efficacy, his self-esteem, his self-worth, his self-value, and based on what was shared yesterday, so they can pour onto our students. If we can't pour from empty vessels as practitioners and love on our Black students if we don't receive that love for ourselves or create loving spaces. So for you to just say that you're redesigning your own space that you occupy on a daily basis to work shows us just the level of impact this has had. But we cannot just put aside the fact that it's taking some artifacts and just putting on your wall. That has implications and meaning. I love that. Dr. Timberlake, what do they need to know?
Well, education ain't education without Africa in it. So if that ain't your meat and potatoes and your dessert, you're not really getting fed. Okay. And so for me, it's important that in the role that I currently serve in, that it's important that I, provide the landscape and the environment for the next change agent, right? With their theme music being "We Are Here" by Dr. Bush. Okay. So I just think that's my biggest takeaway, is to make sure that I'm creating an avenue and the landscape for the next change agent, right? And with that, we stand on the foundation of a lot of what we were informed on being in the motherland. So that's what I got.
Appreciate that. Dr. White.
You know how you take students to the Southern California college tours, or take a step back, the historically Black college and university tours, and they come back and they're like, wow, I never knew this, and oh, I could see myself there. This is kind of that experience for your faculty, your staff, your classified professionals, your administrators, right? This was kind of the parallel experience for us, or at least, for myself. It was eye-opening. It's life-changing. It's something that needs to continue to happen. It needs to continue to be supported in the same way that we would support, these college tours for student success, right? You can't have student success without faculty, staff, administrators who feel like they can be included and belong, and in turn impart that success to their students. So it's all connected. This is all connected, and this is a professional college tour that reinvigorates, well, at least, again, speaking for myself, that reinvigorates the people who are on the front lines with the students and imparting that student success. So it needs to continue to be supported, needs to continue to happen, and needs to be continued to be celebrated and championed across the state.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Dr. McLean, close us out. What do they need to know?
Well, I think the way I think about it is, Carter G. Woodson said there's two types of education: the education that you are given and the education that you must get. And I think this is the education you must get as a professional, as a student, as a casual bystander, whoever you are, you need to be involved. And I think what people need to get from this experience is that be a part of the solution, help to pave the way so that others that are coming alongside you or behind you, or even those that were ahead of you, had an opportunity or have an opportunity to engage in this type of experience. It will revolutionize their work, which will really create the impetus for transformational change that we need. This work is too important for it not to be furthered or supported, and I think this experience will help to do that. So let's help others get there.
Thank you so much. If we can give in the chat and on social media some love to the wonderful, phenomenal panel here, just the amount of wisdom and love and gems they shared. I know many of you will also, 300 of y'all took us took part of us with this journey, won't be able to join us today. But those who are on this call who are not able to go, I want to say something to you. I think there is a missing key element when it comes to equity work, justice work, belonging work, that is absence of Africa. And so for all of the practitioners, faculty, administrators, researchers, none of them have a global perspective on looking at the issues that impact African-American students. So when we talk about the diaspora, and I'm hearing Dr. Manuel talk about her Trinidadian experience. I'm hearing Trevor talking about his experience in South Central. Black folk, we saw those slave dungeons, how we're scattered across the planet, literally scattered across the planet. But with that, Black excellence was also, and Black resistance, and Black love, and Black power was also scattered across the planet. So in order for us to tap back, as Dr. Timberlake mentioned, to our roots, we need to have a focus on a Pan-African perspective. So if your equity work does not have an African focus, it is deficient. Deficient with a capital D, deficient. If you're not talking about Africa and African-American student success, but we're not talking about some fictitious or Wakanda stuff. We've been to the real motherland, right? We ain't got to fantasize about it. And no Disney version. We're talking about the real deal, Holyfield. Get your butts to Africa. I'm talking to all the college presidents, all the college administrators. 2024, lock in your calendar. If you want to warm yourself up this summer, this fall, instead of vacation to Italy and the Bahamas, you can do the Bahamas to kind of wind yourself in. But about supporting Black businesses, go vacation Black. Go to Africa. Put your money where your mouth is. Like, be African all the way around. And that is my call to every single one of y'all. So thank you. Shout out to my phenomenal panel. Thank you, Dr. White, Dr. McLean, Dr. Manyweather, Dr. Timberlake, Dr. Brackett, Dr. Berry, for your phenomenal words of encouragement. Thank you, all of you who have shared. Thank you for the phenomenal committee, for the ADS committee that put together Black Student Success Week. I truly appreciate you, and the African Diaspora Education Summit. And I want to go to our next slide here before we introduce our closers. And that is, I want you all to save the date. September 2024, we are going to Africa. Go to your foundations, go collect that money. We need to top Dr. Berry in LA. They sent a delegation of 40. Every school commit to sending 100 people. Send 100 people. This will be a challenge. Send 100 per college. 100 people per college. We're going to Africa, and we're going to do it better and bigger this time. You know, we're going to have more options than jollof rice for at least 3 days a week. We got you. We're learning, right? We're going to learn together. We're not going to intermittent fast day one. You might want to practice in the summer though. We're going to be better, bigger, and we're going to be more efficient. So we're encouraging every single person, please commit to sending 100 per district. That is the challenge if you're about that life. All right. With that being said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to turn it over to my phenomenal colleague, Katrina Linden. Again, thank you, Dr. Eric Handy, and all the phenomenal folks who participate in Black Success Week. We love you, we appreciate you. Katrina, the floor is yours.
Great, thanks. Thank you so much, Dr. Bull, and for everybody who shared their experiences. I'm going to lead us into our closing remarks now. Really excited to have us joined by a panel of awesome Black women who are leading our California community colleges across the state. Kicking us off with Dr. Tina King from San Diego College of Continuing Education, Dr. Ashanti Hans from San Diego Mesa College, Dr. Denise Weisenhunt from Grossmont College, Dr. Jennifer Taylor Mendoza, College of San Mateo, Dr. Brenda Thames from El Camino College, and Dr. Catherine Jeffrey from Santa Monica College. That's a lot of doctors, a lot of degrees, and lots of years in education. So really excited to pass it off to Dr. Tina King to kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. First, I want to say thank you to Dr. Bull, and I want to say thank you to Dr. Curry for creating the space for the Black women CEOs in the field to end the week with. And thank you to all of the panelists for the entire week of Black Student Success Week, especially the students who shared their stories so that we as educators could learn from and make corrections in our practices to better support our Black students. My name is Dr. Tina King. I proudly serve as the president at San Diego College of Continuing Education. And now that we've had an opportunity to hear and learn from the entire week of folks, the question continues to be, now what? How do we move forward, and how do we take what we've learned to better support our Black students? And not just from this year's Black Student Success Week, but from the former Black Student Success Weeks as well. And for me, it starts with my own personal identity as an Afro-Latina woman, a Black woman, but more so as a mother raising 5 beautiful Black children who are growing up in America. And so it's personal for me. It's near and dear to my heart. I also think about my own personal lived experiences, and I use those as an asset to support our Black students. So personally and professionally, as the president at San Diego College of Continuing Education, what I'm taking away and what I'm committed to is a continuous advocacy and charge to supporting the urgency of supporting our Black students. And speaking specifically for my college, where we really have a large number of immigrants and refugees, those from Africa and other countries. And so my charge is to focus on the workforce development and economic impact for Black students that we serve in the system and those directly in our service area. This year, we will be developing the first Black Student Success Program, creating more opportunities for African-centered education and culture, and focusing on supporting another area that we are highly focused on supporting is justice impacted and those that have been plagued in our Black community and attacking and hopefully eliminating recidivism rates. And so I've come into my college with that focus, and we have started creating partnerships in these areas. And the other piece to this in what I'm taking away is the continuous advocacy locally and statewide for our Black students so that we continue to create conditions where Black students are comfortable, successfully thriving, and they are ending up in jobs that are aligned to livable wages. And that's something within my locus of control with the workforce development work that we do. So my commitment is on the outcomes of Black students to be seen in every space and in every boardroom. Now I turn it over to one of our queen mothers in the system who's holding up this work on her shoulders. And we will end with the longest woman Black CEO in our system, Dr. Catherine Jeffrey. I'll turn it over to Dr. Ashanti Hands now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Ashanti Hands, proud president of San Diego Mesa College. And I just want to start by saying that I am who I am because somebody loved me. And this week has been full of that kind of vibe that allows us to tap into that innate desire to be fully seen and fully loved. The love that has allowed us to show up with hope and faith and righteous indignation as courageous, bold, and complex people here on purpose and with purpose. At yesterday's panel, I believe it was Dr. Coney who said that Black success is a radical act of love. That love that Bell Hooks said is political and transformative, which challenges the status quo and seeks to bring about social change. A love that is not simply an emotion, but an action that requires a commitment to justice and social change and works to dismantle systems of oppression. In these spaces, we have been fully seen and fully loved. And every time I think about Black student success, I always think of the song by Pharrell and Jay-Z where they start with, I am Black ambition. I am always whispering. They keep telling me I will not, but my will won't listen. Black ambition or success is our identity and direction. That identity is always speaking. It is always present. We often hear what we can or will not do, but our will, our resolve, the inevitability of who and what we were born to do is too strong to be denied. There's a good book that says that we are hard pressed, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. Why? Because our will not listen to the facts, but instead will walk in our truth. That is what these spaces have been filled with. So success is not who our students will become, it is who they are. Success is their birthright. They are in an active state of success, and we are 100% worthy of the space we occupy. It has been said that there are things that cannot and will not happen unless and until we take up our space in this world. My takeaway: take up your space. And as we end this week, I remind you of the words of the R&B singing group Guy when they said, it's not over. The party's not over. In fact, we must now move with renewed energy, fresh perspective, newly equipped and empowered to carry out our divine assignment of Black student success. Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to our sister, Denise Whisenhunt.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denise Whisenhunt, and I am the proud president of Grossmont College. I have the honor to serve the East County community in San Diego and the opportunity to uplift about 14,000 students every day. But what makes me get up and what fills my cup every day is my commitment and the commitment of my campus to serve Black students. I come from a family of five amazing siblings, many of whom had attended historically Black colleges. My parents attended Black colleges, and the messaging that they have instilled in me informs my practice every day. We have a commitment to do much more, not just to act within the moment, but to think about our future. And when I think about that, I think not just about the immediacy of my responsibility, but the collective responsibility of everyone in here. And as I look and work amongst a sea of beautiful Black women, beautiful Black presidents, Black female presidents, Black male presidents, I just want to tell you what an honor it is to be and share this space with you and to share a space of a campus that is committed to empower. But the job is not just mine, as you all know. It is a collective responsibility, and it runs within the blood of which we share, the blood of our community, the blood of our ancestors. So I want to thank you so much for taking your time to invest in what's going to happen for our future. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. And then I now shall pass this on to the next speaker.
Hello, thank you so much, Denise. It has been wonderful just to be here in this room. And thank you so much again for all the panelists who have just coordinated this week to really stand up for Black students. So once again, my name is Jennifer Taylor Mendoza, and I'm from the College of San Mateo. And it is so wonderful to be here in support of Black students. This week for me was an opportunity to once again engage and reflect in community on how to crystallize our mission to ensure Black rights and Black excellence. My next steps always are to ensure that I contribute my voice in multiple ways and in different venues. If we don't speak up or even act up, we cannot expect others to do it for us. We cannot allow the Black experience or Black people to be erased. Unfortunately, we still live in a culture in which Black vitality and Black well-being are not valued. But I got some news for you. That dog has had its day. Our systems, our allies, brothers and sisters across all groups will stand together to promote positive action and change for Black students. So that is what we need to continue to do, hold each other accountable, and standing together to support Black students. As you leave this webinar today, what are you going to do in your network of influence? We are all individually responsible for the common good.
And to Dr. Bull's point, I'm going to meet your challenge. So I plan to be in Africa, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that San Mateo County Community College District is represented. I thank you so much. I am honored to be here with all of you. And I now hand it over to Dr. Thames. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Dr. Taylor Mendoza, and thank you all for having me in this space. Earlier in the conversation, Dr. McLean talked about the principle and practice of giving, and that knowledge and practice are communal and meant to be freely given. And this week we have all benefited and been uplifted through the gift of giving free knowledge and practice. And when we give the learning gift, we become conscious and thoughtful about belonging to each other's achievement. Not only the achievement of our students, but to the achievement of each other. We become 1,000 wide and 10,000 deep, as the Umoja principle says. Many of the discussions yesterday especially touched on the physical, emotional, and mental costs of this labor of love that we are collectively engaged in. And then after yesterday's session, I had a conversation with a Latina colleague, and we talked about how difficult it is to lead and manage in spaces that are not accepting or prepared for us to show up as our authentic selves, and the toll that that takes on us. And just a few minutes ago, Dr. Hands and others yesterday talked about Black student success, and I'm just going to say Black success, period, is a radical act of love. And so what I am taking from this week is an affirmation of the importance to continue to lean on others and to be leaned on, to lean into others and to be leaned into, and to radically, radically love and to be radically loved. And in the spirit of that radical love, it is my pleasure to be passing this on to Dr. Catherine Jeffries. And I will tell you, a couple months ago, Dr. Jeffries invited me over to her place to have lunch. And we sat in a beautiful restaurant overlooking the ocean, and she treated me to an exquisite lunch of lobster. We dined on lobster. We drank champagne. We talked about life. We talked about work. We talked about self. And so Dr. Jeffries, in that act, she was teaching me how to take care of myself because she understands the toll of this work. And she was radically loving on me. And so Dr. Jeffries, I'm appreciative of you modeling and teaching that. And I will continue to try to do that for others. Dr. Catherine Jeffries.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Timms, Brenda, thank you for that acknowledgement. It almost makes it hard for me to speak in this moment. But I think it's important to do the kinds of things for others and to do the kinds of things for yourself that lift you up, lift others up. We need those times when we treat ourselves to the good life because we deserve the good life. I want to share that I've been at Santa Monica College for 7 years, had an anniversary in February, was also president of Sacramento City College for 8 years and president of a college in Minnesota, Hennepin Technical College, for 2 years. So my experience is far beyond what the typical lifespan can be for a college president. It's usually very short, 3 to 5 years. But I want to say a few things. I've listened to this presentation. I've listened to many presentations over the last 2 to 3 years that have a focus on equity, diversity, inclusion. I come from the early years of affirmative action and have passed through a number of different iterations of trying to move closer to being, closer to making our institutions ready to serve the whole range of students who are coming through our doors, and to take care of them and help them move forward to the next steps in their journey. I've come to a point in my career where I feel like I can say what I think needs to be said. As Black people, as African American people, as folks with African blood in our veins through our ancestors, we have come to where we are from many different paths. Africa is a continent. And within the continent, there are many countries. And within the countries, there are many ways that the people in those locations identify themselves. There is no one way to be Black. And with that in mind, I just want to say, in being Black, you don't just represent the collective, but you also represent yourself. You represent your communities. And I want to say that it's important not to segregate from within our group, not to cut somebody off because you don't think they're Black enough or they're not your way of being Black. That's a huge mistake to make. We need to help all of our students feel comfortable in their skin and to embrace their Blackness and to understand that that does not just mean one way of being. We need to look at folks who are leaders in whatever role they play, whether it's in a community college or in some other arena. Langston Hughes said it best, life for me ain't been no crystal stairs. So don't try to judge people based on where they are when you see them fully cloaked in the attire of their profession and make assumptions that they haven't been through some trials to get to where they are. Please grant each other the space and the grace to be Black in all its forms. Please give room for others to join in this walk with us. And that means people across different races, different cultures, to link arms with us. We can't do this alone. And I'll end with saying, Maya Angelou said, I know why she wrote it, and she said it, I know why the caged bird sings. And when you think about that, there are many ways you can cage a bird, and in every cage, you trap and limit someone's potential. I see our work in higher education as being a means. We have the ability to open doors, to open the cage, to create the strength for all of the birds. In this case, all of our beautiful Black students across all of our institutions to spread their wings and fly. Not because we told them exactly how they needed to do it, but to help them understand they can do it. They can do it with the power that they have within, and we are tools to help them along the way. So thank you to all of the folks who've been part of this program, who are blowing fresh energy into an old beginning, because we've been on this journey for a very long time. And we will continue to be on it. So Dr. Bull, it's a pleasure to speak with you face to face. I've seen you in many sessions over the last period of the pandemic, so over the last several months and years now. So it's a pleasure to be in this setting with you. I don't know how many people I'll be able to take or send to some future gathering where we're all trying to work toward a common cause, whether it's in the United States or elsewhere. But I will share this. I have been to Africa. I have been to Ghana. I've been to different parts of Africa, and I bring all of that with me. So when people were talking earlier about what it meant for them to be there and how that filled them up, it still fills me up. And it still makes me proud. And I carry that with me every single day, not just in my career, but in my life. So for those of you who had the privilege and the pleasure and the honor of being in some part of Africa, and specifically you were talking about Ghana, and I saw all the photos, and I was at Elmina, I was at Cape Coast, I was at the university, I landed in Accra and met someone who grew up in the same neighborhood that I grew up in Oklahoma City. We did not know each other, but that's how small the world is. You can run into yourself in some other part of the world and not even know that that's going to happen. But we are everywhere. So thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. I went way past my 1.5 minutes, but Keith knew that when he put me at the end that was going to happen. So again, thank you everyone for being part of helping uplift all of our students, but specifically for helping to uplift our African students.
Thank you, Dr. Jeffrey. If I can just ask you to just stay on camera. And also ask all of the Black women CEOs to come back on camera. You just shared a very powerful, wise words with us. And wisdom is saying the right thing or doing the right thing at the right time and at the right place. And yes, we have a lot of energy of the youth, but we cannot move without the wisdom of our elders. So thank you for imparting that on us. And you remind me of a very powerful African proverb when it says, let your love be like the misty rain coming softly but flooding the river. You flooded us today with your powerful, wise words, just speaking so eloquently. And I want to just say on behalf of all of the planning committee for Black Student Success Week, we love Black women. We have all Black men. We love Black women. This is the reason our queens, the love, the centering, the knowledge, the wisdom.
Come on.
So thank you, Dr. Jeffrey, Dr. King, Dr. Hans, Dr. Mendoza, Dr. Thames, Dr. Denise Wisenhut, who's not here, right now. Thank you for imparting us with your love, your wisdom, your kind words. So thank you again on behalf of the planning committee. We appreciate you. We're gonna see you somewhere in these conference streets or in Africa. We're gonna make it happen though. We're gonna see each other. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Bull. Woo. It's been a beautiful week. It's been a blessed week. We want to thank all of you for being with us for the Black Student Success Week every day for the Black Hour. Just want to let you know you can always revisit any of the webinars from the Black Hour at our YouTube channel, as well as at our link tree. Stay tuned. In a couple of minutes, we'll have the after party. The link is in the chat. Don't also forget about the Student Hour financial literacy workshops. We're going to be talking about basically how to make sure we get that money right. And don't forget, we have coming next year, the BE Awards, the Black Educator Excellent Awards, as well as next year for Black Student Success Week. Don't forget about the BE Awards, the Black Educator Excellence Awards coming 2024. Again, thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our partnerships over with Uber Eats. Shout out the architect, the guru, the godfather, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Dr. Keith Curry. We see you, man. We appreciate you. Shout out all our great panelists. Thank you on behalf of Dr. Bull. Thank you on behalf of Katrina Linden. And don't forget, purchase your swag, 20% off the whole site today. Everything's been fully restocked. Get your bucket hats using the code TBH. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Carmel. Thank you to the planning committee. We love you. We appreciate you. And we know it takes a village. Thank you. Black Student Success Week, the Black Hour. Peace and blessings, everybody.
We need to send a message across. We need to celebrate education, things that we can use to compete in the 21st century.
Knowledge should be basically expansive.
And so when we talk about education, it must be an education that takes us forward. It began in Africa and it must end in Africa. And that's what we're here to celebrate.
On the day-to-day, try to path that your own, that's what it's coming to. Internet shrinking the world, I'm expanding my view.
This is not easy work.
It was also significant to let the Africans know on the continent that we are back and that we're here to reclaim what it is that we have lost. So we had to let everyone know. In fact, we had to let the world know that we are here.
It's going to take a culturally responsive community.
We created the environment, all right, and we treat it like a bed of flowers.
Developing the framework of African curriculum.
We should not make a school or a college or university the exclusive environment where our children are taught.
Audre Lorde said it best, the master's tools will not dismantle the master's house.
It's bad energy, so if it ain't bringing value to the table, then please don't trouble me.
This conversation is about CRT. This conversation is about how do we create educational centers where a person's race, class, or gender doesn't determine their outcome. That's where we start the conversation.
There's enough valid historical information that we can build a foundation of truth on. So let's do that for the next 300 years.
And these are things that people don't think about, talk about, or deal with. So we just take knowledge base as knowledge base without looking at the Africa in the base.
African-centered education helps us meet needs and solve problems.
I mean, anti-blackness is as America is.
We are African people no matter where we are, and we don't need no permission from anybody.
But we've got work to do right now.
We are here.
Now you can hold me back.
No man should have this power. Don't hold back. The world is ours.
Hello, my name is Dr. Jennifer Taylor Mendoza, and I'm the president of College of San Mateo. I support Black student success today, tomorrow, and always.
Hi, I'm Jill Stearns, Superintendent President of Cuesta College, where we support Black student success.
Hello, I'm Kevin Walters, Superintendent President of Allen Hancock College in Santa Maria, California, and we support Black student success. During this Black Student Success Week, we're proud of the graduation rates and the persistence rates that we have for our Black students on campus. We look forward to doing more, and we wish you well during this week.
I'm Dr. Tina King, proudly serving as your college president. The San Diego College of Continuing Education is committed to our Black student success. The San Diego College of Continuing Education is among the most diverse schools in our state, and we are truly committed to a culture of equity. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.